Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to start off by introducing myself. My name is Kim Maddox, and I work at Augusta University with Dr. Terrace and Dr. Clausen. And what we're going to do today is go over the handbook. I didn't make any slides because I figured it was just the easiest and the best way to just pull up the handbook, and we'll go through page by page on what all I have in the handbook and why it's there. Well, yeah, we'll just do it like that. Now, I didn't make this handbook up. Thankfully, this was already done whenever I got this job. I just kind of went through and updated everything. I do it yearly. And I make it available to everybody at orientation, and we go over it page by page. And then I have everybody sign the last page. And it's all electronic. So that way there's an acknowledgement that we did go over it. And all I do is I take that last page of this handbook. Once they've signed it, I'll upload it to their electronic file. That way it's always in there, because it is an ACG requirement that you do have that, acknowledging that you did go over that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Pull this up so we can get started. Can everybody see that okay? Okay. So basically, starting out, I make sure I put all of our social media links on the first page, and I have a table of contents so you can easily reference which page. In the introduction, it's more of our mission statement, which is also on our website, and everybody should have one of these on their website. And that's how we started off. And then I just list all of our faculty members, research faculty, and myself on this page. And then how we do our resident selection as far as interviewing and what type of applicants we take, what our, how many we take, how we interview, just the whole thing there. You can, and I'll also upload this to the files today, the most current one. So it is in there. So you're welcome to use this document and copy and paste over what I have already, or there's a lot of it you can use. So first, I'll start off with the participating institutions. So we have three different sites. So I divide them up by each site that we go to. So the first one would be our main site, which is here. I include, you know, how many beds we have, what all is included. I'm not going to go and read line for line. I'm just going to briefly skim through it, and you can actually go to the actual document on your own and kind of read word for word what it says. But I'm just kind of giving a breakdown of what all we do and where all we go on while they're on the Augusta University rotation. We go to the prison, so I make sure that I include that there. We also go to the surgery centers, the outpatient clinic that they go to. I have a little bit of information about that here. And under each site, you have a site director. So they like for you to list each faculty that participates at this site. For our Augusta University site, obviously all of the physicians would be listed, and under their names, you would just kind of put what their titles are and what kind of committees, in-house committees they're a part of, like if they're a part of the PEC or the CCC committee. And I just put assumes daily educational supervision for residents and clinics and OR under each one of their names. And that just kind of goes down a list, all of them. I also list Dr. Lanza and Dr. Henley is that their OBGYN Urogyn female rotation that they do. Since that is part of their Augusta University site, or since it's here, I also list them. Then we also have the Children's Hospital, and Dr. Morgenstern is our pediatric urologist. So he would be listed as the site director here. And it just kind of goes over how many beds we have and just a brief description of the site. And then you've got the VA. They go across the street to the VA as well. And you have Dr. Dykes as the site director in chief over there. We only have Dr. King and Dr. Terrace that goes across the street to practice. So you would only list them. And then Dr. DeCaro is our telehealth over there. So that goes through the sites. Conferences. So I go through and do a very detailed description of what our conferences cover and what competencies they cover, what all we go over in the conferences, when they are, where they are, and then I list each conference out separately. So you'll see I've got Journal Club here, and I just say, you know, how often we do it, where, and who's the person, the faculty responsible for that conference, because each conference has a faculty that's responsible for getting it scheduled, not getting it scheduled, but just kind of overseeing it, basically. But mainly it's me doing it all. Their names are just here. You got the didactic lectures that we do, which is radiology. We have AUA guidelines and what else? I don't remember what else, but you get the gist. Not everybody should have the didactic lectures. It just depends on your institution, what all y'all like to go over. And then we have the M&M, which is also the Quality Improvement Conference, and that's very important to include in there because that is part of the ACGME requirement that they do. They are involved in quality improvement, so that's why I list it like that. You have Dr. Morgenstern that's over this conference. They go over all the M&Ms the last Monday of the month, and he'll type up a report to give to me, and then we have to send it to certain people across the street at the VA, the Children's Hospital, and here. And then you've got the pre-op planning conference, which we have every single Monday in the morning, first thing. They go over all the cases for the upcoming week and kind of plan their week out. And then you have the SASB chapter review. We have a radiology conference that we do with the local urologists and private practice that they also, we have a very close relationship with. And we'll do those quarterly at a local restaurant, and usually a rep will sponsor those. I don't get credit for those as far as CME credit, but I do get CME credit for the other ones. We have a cancer conference that's twice a month, so I would list that here. And Dr. Harris and Dr. Clausen.
Kim, can I ask you a question about that rep dinner?
Y'all
are allowed to do that? Aren't y'all public?
We are.
But you're a public institution?
State.
Okay.
Institution.
Yeah, they won't let us do that. So I just wondered about that. Okay.
Yeah, as long as it's off campus and they're not getting CMEs or anything like that for it, that would not be allowed. But
yeah, they won't let us do it anywhere.
As long as they're incorporated into the program, like we give them the first 30 minutes to talk to our faculty. And sometimes we won't have a rep at all. We'll just do it on our own. It just depends.
But the rep pays for the meal, right? Is that what you're saying?
The rep pays for the meal.
Yeah. I wish we could do that.
You
but
give them like the first 30 minutes of the conference to talk to everybody.
Yeah, if we don't get CME, or if they can't make it a CME meeting, we can't do it.
This is pretty much the only one that doesn't qualify for the CME. I guess each institution would be different and have different rules as far as that's concerned, but we do not have that rule here.
The problem you worry about is the kickback, you know, the kickback law that that's what started all of this years ago. So
that's exactly what the issue we have. And I just checked with our compliance office just to be positive again. And they were like, even if it isn't, like, even recruiters, we can't even have recruiters give them like a meal. Who there's like, what kickback is going to be for a recruiter, you know? But anyway, I didn't mean to get you off topic. I was just curious.
We don't have that problem. Yeah, I mean, they're budgeted money every year
because that's actually
things like that.
It's actually
so they are cracking down on the reps. I should say they are cracking down the reps on what they can buy, and that might be changing soon. I have noticed that they have cracked down a little bit on it. So we also have our local meetings that I plan. We have one coming up in September. We have a guest speaker that we invite, and all of our residents and some of our faculty will give lectures, and it's a 2-day event where we have the visiting professor give a few lectures, and each year it's on a different topic. This year is BPH with Dr. McVeary from Loyola University. I know I'm mispronouncing that, but and we also have the research symposium in February where all of our residents they're required to give a little 10 to 12 minute case report or research project of what they've been working on that previous year. And it also gives them practice for the upcoming Southeastern section meeting. And then I go and I list the actual conference schedule. It changes a lot month by month, and they know that not to go by the schedule. I usually update it every month and send it out separately, but I like to include it in the handbook so they have it, so they know what to expect all year. March, I'll go like around March and I'll start updating the whole entire year, and we'll plug in everything. And then I'll put it in the handbook. Now, I'm not really finished updating this handbook, so excuse the formatting and all that. I'm still working on it. As you can see, that's not updated yet, but that needs to come out. But it just kind of lists, you know, our conference and where it's located and what time and what days. I won't go through all that. I'm sure y'all have your own conference schedule and do it your way. So we'll just skip on by. All right, so now you get into the different rotations. And so they like for you to list like each individual rotation out and which PGY resident goes on those rotations and what how many months out of the year. And what they actually do on that rotation, who they report to, and we also have, let's see, what else do I have in here? Like anything to do with the research rotations in here, how they can get posters made and what they do at the VA research rotation. Then we'll go to each PGY year and what rotations they do. I break it down a couple of different ways. It'll go year by year and what rotations they do in that particular year. And then I've got a list of the residents, all my residents that will be starting, their start date, end date, and what PGY level they are. This is last year's rotation schedule. It's not done yet because general surgery holds me up every single year. And they decide to give us the intern schedule, about the 3rd week in June. And then I'm scrambling to get the handbook done, the rotation schedule out to everybody. So that's not here yet, but that would be where it goes. And it kind of goes over like which resident works with which, how many times, to make sure everybody's working with everybody and that it's fair. Now this is, what is this? Okay, this is all the residents and all rotations. And this is where they break it down where you have your competencies and which competency is covered on each rotations. So you'll see it lists each different thing that they go over on all the rotations, and under it I'll put after each one the goals and objectives, and then what documentation that we use to fulfill that. Like you see here, some of them have the institutional requirement and some of these actually have the goals and objectives, which goals and objectives we cover on that particular rotation.
Can I ask a question, Kim?
Sure.
It looks like you ask your residents to read the handbook and then sign off on it. Is that correct?
We go over the handbook on the screen during orientation, and all I do is I just print out the last page of the handbook, which is the acknowledgement page, and I'll scan it to each one of their files.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Kim, can I ask you a question too? Do you guys do you not use New Innovations?
No,
or MedHub?
New Innovations. I use 145.
Oh, okay. Because see, we use New Innovations, so like they have to sign off on things like this in New Innovations. So I just
don't have that in 145, unfortunately.
I see. Okay, just curious.
I'll have to do it like this. And I don't know, I can't, I mean, the whole institution uses 145 here. We have all our evaluations. We keep up with their time in there.
Right. Yeah, no, you can't change it, what the institution does. You have to do it.
So I'm stuck using it. But, I mean, it works fine for us. I don't have a problem with it. I'd like a different way to streamline my sign-in sheets would be nice. So I don't have to scan them in. I'm working on that. We'll get there one of these days, but yeah, it just kind of goes over every single responsibility that they are expected to do. I'm not going to like go over each and every single bit one of them, but you kind of get the gist of what they'll be doing during all their rotations. And this kind of is a general knowledge of every rotation they have, not just separated out. And this is what they like to see. They like to see what goals and objectives and documentation that you use for each one of those. And that's why it's important to list that there. I think that's one of the main keys we're trying to take away from today is where we use the goals and objectives within the handbook. And this would be it. Now we will break it down to each PGY level. So the PGY ones, what all they're expected to do in surgery, what all their responsibilities are in their PGY 1 year. Each year has different responsibilities, and what knowledge base they would be at. And then, of course, you'll have the goals and objectives after each one of those as well. And a lot of this, y'all can probably copy and paste because I'm sure a lot of it stands true for each one of your institutions. Like the PGY2, like they're responsible for getting the pre-op list and taking attendance for me if I'm not there, and just several, just different things that you just have to go through and kind of look like it'll list like what rotations they actually do during their PGY2 year and what's expected on that particular rotation. Like I have here, the junior resident rotation is 4 months and everything that they would do while they're on that rotation. Same thing with the VA junior, they do 4 months over there. And then they also do 4 months in pediatrics. And there's like, this is the kind of operations they would be able to do in that PGY level year. Now PGY3, they're the senior resident at here and so forth. It goes on to list the same different things. Some of it's repeated. And then they do the research rotation and a VA senior rotation. And then you got your PGY4s. That's when you get into your pediatrics and your female rotation. And they're also go to the cancer center for 3 months and learn how to do complex cancer surgeries with Dr. Terrace and Dr. Clausen. And then they do the female rotation, as I mentioned before, for 3 months. And then your PGY5s, they're basically just split up 6 months here and 6 months at the VA. And they're responsible for overseeing the program, the residents, and so forth. And then we get into our policies and procedures. And these are specific to urology, not just the institution. So our promotion, redemption, and dismissal policy is here. And again, I'm not going to read through all of this. I'm sure y'all each have your own policies anyway. And then we have our evaluation policy, and we break it down how we do our resident evaluations, what all is covered in those, what forms we send out. We have a 360 rating form, which goes to all the faculty after each rotation. And then in May of every year, we do a yearly send out where we'll have all the admins, the nurses, the OR nurses, the residents will evaluate their peers, the program, their self-evaluation. We do that once a year. And then we have the operative performance form where these specific faculties will evaluate based on whatever, like Dr. King at the end of the year would evaluate how these PGY3 residents did in penile surgery. And each evaluation form is catered to that specific operation.
Excuse me, I wanted to ask the actual evaluation forms, are they attached to this document?
They are not. I don't have the actual evaluation forms in here.
Okay.
But that's a good point because it's something that you might want to add. We just haven't. I don't mind sharing those with y'all. I can download them.
Just to get ideas of how, what questions you're asking and on any, short of doing the milestones.
Right. Yeah. I'll be glad to upload all of those to the Google Drive for everybody, so y'all can see.
Yeah.
We also have the CCC committee, of course, that meets, and we do that twice a year. And this is where we go over their milestones. We'll evaluate each resident and do the milestones. We meet as a group. And we mark where they're at on their milestones, and then that's when I'll actually go into ACGME and enter their milestones for that 6 months. We kind of do that as we're in the meeting online, so it's done. Then of course you have the formative evaluation. and the summative evaluation that they do at the end of their graduation. And it just has, I really don't know what happens to that, but just how we do the summative evaluation and what it entails, and how it's filed away. And then you have the, I just break it down to faculty evaluation. We do those annually. I think you're only required to do those once a year. And we have the, like our resident selection committee. It tells us, again, it breaks it down how we select our interviewers and our residents to interview, and the guidelines and so forth. Then you have the program evaluation. That's just a little insert they had me add in here. They do that from time to time. Then we have positive learning experience. So it would be our policy on supervision, our duty hour policy, and moonlighting, which we do not allow. Policy on vacations, how often they can take, when, what months they should take, how they should submit their leave forms, and who those go to, and if you're at the VA, how you're to submit those. The family leave and educational leave. And I got these two slides from the, I think it was from the SAU or either the recent meeting, maybe the AUA meeting. They got these from there and had me insert them. I thought it was a really good guide. So we adhered to that. And then, of course, we've had to add in also, we'll get to that in a minute. So the fear of intimidation, how they can contact anonymously if they're having problems to the DIO and our program director or chair. Policy on quality improvement, which covers our M&M and all that. And we also have a quality improvement QI projects that they are assigned each year that they have to report back and give an actual summary on what they did. We have our well-being policy, how they can get in touch with employee, faculty assistants, the suicide hotline, counseling information in there. Policy on their benefits, like what meetings we send them to and what we will pay for. What industry meetings that they can go to and which PGY level goes to each meeting. We've got our policy on oversight, which is the BLS certification requirement, how they can get that, who they go to. And then we added this in recently because this has been added here recently as one of the things that should be included in your policies. It's for lactating house officers, where we have facilities for that and what we do for that. And then we have the appendixes. So this is the case log instructions on how they would enter their case logs in the ACGME case log system. I just screenshot and I give them examples of how, it just goes step by step on what they would do to enter their cases. And this is mostly for the junior residents that are just starting out, for them to reference if they ever needed to. The case log minimums for the chief residents is here. And this is how to post OR cases here and at the Children's Hospital and at the VA, who to go through, what all they need. I'm not going to go into all of that. And then we have the instructions on how to enter their time in 145, how to access their evaluations, where to go for their personal info, their tab has their bio and all their portfolio in there. This tells you how they would access their evaluations and where they would go to complete their evaluations. Rotations, yeah, and their rotation schedules in there as well. Duty hours, it goes over how they would enter their duty hours in 145 step by step. That way, if they ever are stumped and have a question, they can refer that to the handbook, and it goes step by step exactly what they need to do to enter their hours and what each step means. And this is just something Dr. Terrace had me add in. It's something to do with their guidelines on antibiotics and allergies and stuff, and what to prescribe, I guess. Just some helpful information for them. And this is our robotic training, which we'll go over when we do the robotic training, where, how, and all that. And we usually do that at the beginning of every year. They'll do that early in the morning before the cases start in the OR. Kind of a training they go over, and then we also have the intuitive rep that also does the training with them, and that's the information on that. And that is it, which that is a lot. But this is the actual receipt. All I do is I print this off. If I had a way that they could electronic sign this, I would, but I just don't have, I haven't done that yet, but I'm working on it. But I just scan it into their files. I kind of pass it out at orientation. I kind of like doing it like that anyway, because I want to make sure everybody signs it in front of me and hands it right back. And that was it. That is a 78-page handbook, and it's a lot of information, but it's very helpful to them. I don't print this out. It's on our website, and I also email it. I do print out just 3 copies of it, and I'll place it, or 4. I'll place it at each site in the clinic, and then in their resident office in case they just want a hard copy to flip through, because my residents, they like hard copies, and I'm trying to get them out of all this the best way I can, and we're just slowly, gradually getting everything electronic. They've just been so used to, but they do like to have, they'll tell you, I like to get the journal club articles where I can flip through them while we're going over the conference. I do not like looking at them on the computer, and they'll all tell me not just one. So there is certain things that I feel like should still be on paper if they want it that way. But I try not to. So that is basically it. Did anybody have any specific questions about the handbook? I know it's a lot of information. It's just something you'll probably have to go through step by step and read on your own time, and you're welcome to mock it if you'd like and use my document however you see fit. That's what we're here for, to try to work together. Try not recreate the tool. That was basically it. But yeah, so if anybody doesn't have any questions, or you can let me know if anybody does have a question. If you think of something after we get off of here, you're welcome to email me. And I'll also download all of our evaluation forms in there for everybody to see.
That would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
It's great, because I think we all sometimes take a little bit of something, like the idea of having you have them sign it never occurred to me. And I recently had a resident who just, to something really simple, said, no, I didn't know that was our policy. And it's like, come on, You know, all of that stuff is available on the website. I can't believe you just said that aloud. So while I think they'll sign something, whether they've read it or not, at least we have that in their files. Yep.
See, during orientation for our team, what we do is they have the electronic handbooks. The new PGY ones coming in get a hard copy on the handbooks. Everybody has to sign their paper like Kim does, and they have to turn it in to me at the meeting. And then we give them probably like a 2-page orientation of all the highlights of what's really important that you weren't paying attention to in this meeting. And it says, number 1, the door policy is it's always open. If you have any problems, these are the people you need to contact and get in touch with. 2, it's what your stipend is. 3, when travel expenses occur, you have to give your original receipts or you won't be reimbursed. And that's by the IRS, not by the hospital. So we really do that. And then we give them calling cards. So it's like calling cards, like Kim, you put yours inside your manual, but we have calling cards for PD so that they know what doses to use on children and who the contact people are at that site. And then they have the calling cards for the residents and the faculty. So it's their names, their locations, cell phones, and if they have a landline, that. So we can try to give it to them, and we always have multiple ones hanging around the office so that they have their calling cards, but because they don't always lock them into their phones. But like you said, sometimes it's a challenge when they turn around during chief year and they're like, I didn't know how to reserve 1 week of vacation so I could leave to go to my fellowship. Yeah, that was in the handbook.
We really try to concentrate on really going over the policies and procedures mostly out of that handbook. That's the most important part of the handbook. We kind of skim over the other things. We do go over it, but we concentrate the most on the policies.
I send my residents a daily email, and in it highlighted in big font, yellow highlight, red, bold letters, tells them about a confidential email account and how to access it to report concerns. And on our survey this year, we got like a 60% on that. It's in the email every single day. And I have a PGY4 who said, oh, I think some of us didn't know about that. And when we started it, we told them all. And then we have it everything. So I'm just telling you, there's really nothing you can do. You're always going to have somebody who says they didn't know something. And even if they sign it, the problem is if they reflect it on your survey,
you're screwed.
You know,
I mean, they did that to me one year.
Another action plan we get to create, you know, because somebody didn't, you know, pay attention.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating.
They did that with the QI question on the survey. It asked if, you know, if they're involved in quality improvement projects. They didn't know. Well, yes, you are. You do the M&M every month. That's why we put quality improvement behind M&M, so they would know from now on.
And it's funny because if you think about it, they do IRBs. So they have to do their own. They have to go online. They have to take care of their own stuff. And like we have somebody on the other half of the academic office that will read it, go through it and everything. So you already know how to do this, right? So when it comes time to doing the other things, which is just as important, policies and procedures, they claim ignorance. It's mind-boggling because they're very smart people, but sometimes you do want to use the back of your hand and whack them upside the head.
So true.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I don't know. They're very smart. Common sense, I'm not too sure about, but smart, yeah. So, if anybody has anything else, like I said, if y'all think of something after we're off of here, you're welcome to email me. I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Hopefully everybody is surviving what is closely the end of the year and closely the start of a new year. So,
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Trying to get it all together. Like I said, general surgery holds us up every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sitting here posting all the new evaluation, all the evaluations and new innovations for the end of the year.
I know the feeling. All right, well, I guess we'll just end it here, and thank y'all for listening to my lecture today, and I hope y'all got something out of it.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome.
Y'all have a great day. Don't work too hard now.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See ya.
All right, see you later.